Hi, my name is Chris and this is Battle Nonsense. So now that the NDA has been lifted, let's talk about Battlefield 1 and what I think about it after I played the closed alpha for quite a few hours. When you launch Battlefield 1, then the first thing you see is the new Battlefield UI, which will also come to Battlefield 4 and Battlefield Hardline, as it's going to replace Battlelog, which should not really come as a surprise as EA already moved the forums from Battlelog to the main battlefield.com domain. So on one hand, I'm happy that we get rid of Battlelog because I was never a fan of using the browser to launch the game. However, the biggest problem I had with Battlelog was that EA never allowed it to unfold its full potential. I mean, you could find your entire player base on one platform. That's a huge chance for you to interact with your players and for your players to interact with each other. Battlefield always had a very strong community, with hundreds of clans and groups of players who come together to play the game. With a platform like Battlelog, you could enable clans and gaming communities to present themselves, so that other players can find and join them so that they don't have to play alone. You could even have clans and communities interact with each other. Think about a clan leader going to the Battlelog page of another clan and press a challenge button, so that these clans could then set up a little clan war, which is live streamed through a Twitch integration, and the result is then visible on the pages of these clans. This is just one of many examples how Battlelog could have helped the community to flourish. But what we got instead were underdeveloped features like the platoons, which were simply useless because of their artificial limitations. So in the end, Battlelog was a platform which had a ton of potential that EA and DICE sadly never tapped into. Now how about that new Battlefield UI? Just like Battlefield 1, it's still in alpha, which means that it's a work in progress and so its design is not final and some features are still missing. However, in its current state I have to criticize its clarity, as it's quite hard to read the white text on the bright background. I also think that the transparency is overused in the current state of the UI, which makes sections like the server browser unnecessarily confusing. Another issue that I have with this UI is that the Friends panel on the right has just been ported over from Battlelog without any significant improvements. I hope that DICE spends some time to rework that panel in order to make it easier for us to play with our friends and to manage our friends, in example by introducing something like contact groups. I also hope that we won't lose functions during that transition from Battlelog to the new Battlefield UI, like the ability to quickly share a server link with others. Another thing about the design is that I hope that DICE will have different themes for the Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4 and Hardline UIs to give each of them a unique look rather than just using a different background image. But again, this is still an alpha, and the designers have enough time left to fix those design issues and hopefully add more innovative features before Battlefield 1 releases in October. Now let's talk about a few of the things that I like in this closed alpha. When you join a server, then the game tries to get you to join a squad, which should help with those lone wolf players. If you and one of your friends just left the server and joined a new one, then the game will automatically put you inside of the same squad again, which is a really nice feature to keep you and your friends together. Inside the deploy screen we then have our 4 classes, where we finally got the dedicated medic class again in Battlefield 1. However, these 4 classes are not the only ones that are in the game, as there are 2 special classes, the pilot and the tank driver, which might sound familiar if you have seen my design concept for a different class system. So the idea here is that when a player decides to pilot a plane or to drive a tank, then this vehicle is his main weapon and not just a taxi. Because of that, the game will automatically assign one of these classes to the player when he spawns into a vehicle. Another change that I like a lot is that there is no auto repair in Battlefield 1. When your vehicle took damage, then you can press and hold the X key on your keyboard to repair your vehicle. But while you do that, you cannot drive nor fire, so there is definitely a risk to that repair feature. What I also love about Battlefield 1 is the attention to detail that you can see everywhere, like in the planes which have working dials. That is not a killer feature that the marketing department would actively promote. However, it's the attention to detail that has a huge impact on how the game feels and how immersive it is. Battlefield 1 features an in-game currency called War Bonds, which is similar to Battlefield Hardline. This means that if you want a specific gun or gadget, then you can buy it right away when you have the required amount of money or War Bonds. You no longer have to unlock them in a specific order. Now, even though the 3D spotting is still present in the game, it appears to have been toned down quite a bit, and the UI feels quite clean for the most part, which I like a lot. However, instead of showing me the exact class and health value of the enemy players, I'd prefer to see just an icon above his head. I feel that knowing less about the enemy player makes the gunfights more thrilling, and the decision to engage or not will become harder in certain situations. What is also nice is that you can open and close doors, or when you're in a hurry then you will just kick them in automatically. There is now also an animation when you enter vehicles, as well as when you change seats in a plane. This is something that Battlefield players have been asking for a very long time, so it's really great to see that in the game. However, there is no animation when you exit a vehicle. That could be because, again, this is an alpha, but I'm pretty sure that this was done on purpose to allow players to quickly get out of the vehicle. Another feature that you might have seen in one of my very early design concepts is the squad leader's ability to directly select an objective from his comros, which then triggers an attack or defend order. So with that new feature inside of the comros, it might be time to disable the ability to set an order by looking at the objective and pressing the Q key, in order to avoid that you give an order while you just try to spot an enemy. A nice addition to this feature might be to show the distance value below each of the objectives to help the squad leader when he has to make a quick decision. But it's not just easier for the squad leader to give orders. The clarity of the order has also been improved with the introduction of the order notification element for squad members, which hopefully helps to get players to stick with their squad and to play the objective. Now how about the netcode? DICE continued to work on the networking after the last Battlefield 4 patch, and as a result you see that all the 64-player closed alpha servers run at a tick or simulation rate of 60 Hz. So there is a chance that this will be the new default value for Battlefield 1, at least on PC. Now let's move over to the things that I did not like that much or still need some work. The scoreboard. Right now it's just a big wall of text that is not very easy to read. I hope that DICE will eventually change to a design that is not only clear, but also helps to encourage players to join a squad and to stick with their squad. Then there's the kill cam, which is still as misleading as it is in Battlefield 4. The game really needs to do a better job at explaining how you got killed, as that would avoid a lot of frustration and accusations. I'd also prefer to not have the screen focus and highlight the player who supposedly killed me, but instead just look down on my dead body and give me detailed info on the damage I received. Related to the kill cam is the revive mechanic, which is not quite working as you might expect it to. But I will talk about that in detail in my next video, where I will discuss the current state of the medic class and what could be done to make him more rewarding to play and increase his teamwork factor. Speaking of teamwork, what we don't see in Battlefield 1 is the commander. I know that many players, including myself, were not happy with the commander mode in Battlefield 4. However, we also know that DICE did a pretty good job with the commander in Battlefield 2 and 2142. So if done right, it could have been a really great addition to Battlefield 1. But unfortunately DICE decided to not include it at all. So now it's even more important that they get the squad communication and management right this time. Then there's the ammo management in Battlefield 1, which is the same as we have in Battlefield 4. It would have been very interesting to see actual magazine or clip reloads in Battlefield 1, but unlike Battlefield 2 where you lost the ammo that was left in your magazine, a used mag should go back into your pocket and get used once you run out of fresh magazines. This could have added another level of depth and variety to the weapons that we have in Battlefield 1. The battle recorder or server-side demo recording appears to be missing again. And I guess that any form of mod support like a level editor is not going to happen either, which is not just unfortunate, but it's actually getting depressing that the series is not bringing back these two features that it lost during its transition from the Refractor 2 to the Frostbite engine. So we do know a lot about Battlefield 1 at this point, but there are also many things that we don't know yet, which will have a big impact on your experience and if you enjoy the game in the long run. Like where will servers be hosted? Especially on console, the low number of data centers is still a problem in Battlefield 4, as well as that admins do not have the tools to provide the communities with servers where they can ensure that all players have a low ping. We also don't know about EA's exact plans for the post-launch content. Are they going to split the player base again with premium and paid DLC map packs? And what kind of role do microtransactions play in Battlefield 1? These are just a few of the questions that need to be answered during the next few weeks. But how does it feel to play the Battlefield 1 closed alpha? During the first few days it felt pretty chaotic, but that's normal as everyone was still learning the game. Now I see that more and more players begin to understand the changes that DICE made, which aim to increase the teamwork and the tactical aspect of the game. However, the game still needs to become better at teaching the players how the game is meant to be played in order to get the most out of it. I also think that the pace is a bit too fast at the moment, but it's still hard to tell in the early days where players still try to learn the game. For me, Battlefield 1 feels like a Battlefield game, but it does not feel like any of the previous titles. It shares a lot of the same ingredients, but it's still a different experience. The future and longevity of this title will depend on the community and its willingness to adapt to the different gameplay and the World War I setting. It will also depend on a smooth launch, and after that we have to see how EA and DICE are going to support the game with additional content and patches. So these are my thoughts on Battlefield 1 after I've played the closed alpha. But there is still a lot more that I want to talk about and show you, which I will do in the next videos where I focus on specific topics like the medic class, the netcode and a lot more. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, subscribe for more, and I hope to see you next time. Until then, have a nice day and take care. My name is Chris and this was Battle Nonsense.